It's June 14th, 2017, here with Jeremy Schubert from Lunabean Media. My name is Schmidt. We're at the Nicholson Library at Linfield College. And Jeremy will ask you, why did you get into marketing?
I think it kind of by happenstance, which is a lot of the Oregon wine industry. And kind of fell into it from doing our own business, which was actually writing video game strategy guides. And meanwhile, my wife's family owned Panther Creek at the time. And so when we graduated from college, we moved out here and started helping the family winery. And so everything we were learning through marketing and a $5 a month subscription product and you kind of writing 200-page video game guides, we started applying to the winery. So this is in the early 2000s. And at the time, there wasn't a whole lot of, fewer wineries definitely, but not a whole lot of digital marketing going on. Sure. And so we just kind of started applying these little things that were working for our video game business, message boards, chat rooms, still cameras that would take a picture every 30 seconds of our fish tank, for example.
Nice.
The technology has evolved quite a bit, but we started doing that for the winery, and it was working. And so the kind of secret that we fell upon was that we were just using the social media tools of the time, and we had our winemaker on message boards answering club members' questions. We had him on a chat once a month. And so it's that same interaction and building that tribe and just getting to the customer, and it was all working really well. So that's just kind of how we ended up being in the marketing game, and one thing led to another, and more kind of wineries started saying, hey, who's doing Panther Creek stuff? And actually it was IPNC who in probably 2001, 2002 approached us and said, hey, we want you to build a website for us. And that was the very first kind of real client, if you will, beyond the family winery. And so we kept the video game business going for quite a long time and kind of got to the point where wineries kept asking us, hey, do you want to work for us? And we kept saying, we kind of have this other thing. And then we were like, you know what, if people keep offering us money, we should probably do this. And so we doubled down, and about 10 years ago really got serious about doing full-time winery marketing.
So in the beginning then, it wasn't you necessarily seeking the business so much as the business seeking you.
Yeah, and so you're two college graduates from the East Coast, and you have degrees in English, which means you have no marketable skills, right?
I know that pain.
Right, so when the way we fell into the video game business was we were playing a Zelda game at the time, got stuck, and said we need to teach ourselves how to build a website. And so the first practice website we ever built in 1999 was a Zelda walkthrough, and it took off. And that's when we knew we had something there. And so we just basically taught ourselves how to make websites, how to market our own company, how to do everything that was involved in the digital marketing realm at that time, and competing against big GameFAQs and GameSpot, and we were always ranking really, really high, always above them. So everything we kind of learned on the fly, then we just applied, like I said, to the wine industry.
So when you got into the wine industry and started working with it, you didn't really have a whole lot of guides, a lot of industry-specific guides at that point. So how did you kind of learn the lingo and learn, you obviously had some experience with Panther Creek, but how did you kind of learn what you needed to know? Yeah,
well, it basically on-the-ground training. So, age 21, I'm in Panther Creek, mill deciding barrels, working harvest 3 years in a row, and then Allison and I basically started, approached your dad and said, you know what, we can probably sell wine out of the winery. This, novel concept at the time that, tasting room could be open. And so we negotiated a deal with him and said, okay, we're just going to be open one Saturday a month, and let's just see how it goes. And we literally, if you've ever been in that building, the power plant, it's just a concrete floor. This is before the whole tasting room was redone. We literally had a table and us, and it was a functioning winery, barrels behind us. And so we contacted customers through email marketing and started to grow that list. And the once a month started to become really, really popular. And we were making really good sales, people were loving it, and we started going to every Saturday. And so we got the kind of on-the-ground, full-on tasting room experience where we were the only people at the winery. We were figuring out how to sell the wine. And, it wasn't cheap wine. It's pretty standard still, $48 kind of price point, Oregon Pinot. But that was a lot of it. And a lot of it was, working harvests. We worked, between 14 years of working there and the 2 open houses a year, that's 28 open houses that we worked, together. So you kind of get to really know the customer, you get to know what they're looking for, you get to know how to speak to them about the wine. And the thing that I always try to teach my clients too is that, treat any online customer like you would somebody walking in your tasting room. So we were able just to apply, hey, what's working language, what's working price point, what's working offers and deals, in the tasting room, and we just translate that to the online world. And so that's kind of how we got that on the ground experience, which was, really helpful, because going into it is hard to kind of get that training. And, in this marketing world, it's, I think, super helpful for anybody that wants to get into it to go work at a tasting room for, a year or two, and just really understand that flow, and then get into production a little bit and understand how the wine's actually made.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So when you started Lunabean, you mentioned this a little bit, but what were some of the first challenges you faced? You already had like kind of a clientele who wanted you.
Yeah.
So what were the challenges you faced then?
We've been really fortunate in this business where, and this is very indicative of the Oregon wine industry, that they kind of protect their own. And so, and just word of mouth. And so as we did a good job for client one, and then client one knows people in the industry and says, hey, Lunabean would be perfect for you guys. And so we've never actually had to market ourselves. Everything has, I wouldn't say fallen in our lap, because we've done a lot of hard work to get to where we are. Sure. But everything, it's through reputation, and it's through word of mouth that we built our business, and through honestly just being really consistent, and making sure that we've been there for our clients throughout. But the challenges, are any small business challenges, record keeping, bookkeeping, accountants, filing the correct forms, any of those kind of normal things. And, we're just a small business, and you kind of have to figure that out on your own. Sure. And you get advice where you can, but yeah, the nice thing about our business is there's very little overhead. We have an office, we have 8 computers, but there's not a whole lot that needs to happen. We can do most of it in meetings, we can do most of it online. Mm-hmm. So it's a nice business from that standpoint.
So take me back to when IPNC approaches you guys to do their website, and then you do it. Yeah. What happens next?
Basically, we're very happy with it. They kept that design for a good 11, 12 years. And it was just another project that was just kind of, we did another website, but we weren't really committed to doing that at the time. We were still trying to build up our video game business. But then a few years later, I attended, I don't even remember what year it was. It was in downtown Portland, and it was a marketing seminar for wineries. And I don't even recall who was doing it, but they were talking about SEO and SEM and marketing. And I'm sitting there just kind of, my BS meter's going off left and right, on kind of what they're telling the wineries. And this kind of goes back to two. The reason we really got into this was in a lot of ways because at Panther Creek, where you're sitting there and people are coming in trying to sell you stuff all the time, because we were the tasting room people. And we could see how a winery would be very vulnerable to a lot of that kind of stuff, but they don't, because of our background in digital marketing and knowing everything, we would know the BS meter would go off on a lot of this stuff. And so part of the reason we got into the business was to kind of protect wineries and say, I know you're being offered X, Y, and Z, and I'm happy that you should, if you want to buy X, Y, and Z, that's great. I just want you going in with your eyes wide open about what this means, what the actually click-through rates are, all these little kind of, they're going to tell you that you're going to get this much, but what they really mean is this. And so at this seminar that I was at in downtown Portland, my BS meter is going off, and I thought, there's really an opportunity here to reach out to wineries and say, we kind of know what's going on here. And so when, at the very least, just use this as a resource, just bounce ideas off of us. If you hear something, we're happy to answer you. Have a phone call, have an email. And one thing kind of led to another with that, and wineries started using us like that. Interesting. And I think because of kind of the breadth of our knowledge between on-site sales and wine clubs and all the online stuff, clients contact us for a variety of reasons. So they'll say, hey, we need email marketing. Sure, we can do that. We've been doing that for almost 20 years. Hey, we need social media help. Hey, we need a website. Whatever it is they need, we can supply. Sure. And once we get that in, then they see we do a good job, and then they kind of expand and tend to just use us for more and more stuff. So the goal is to kind of be the solution for marketing for wineries, and whatever they need, we can provide. And that's part of the challenge too, is kind of getting that breadth of experience across the board.
Yeah, let me ask you about that. How do you, when a winery approaches you, how do you decide what they need, or do they know? How do they decide what they need?
Well, I mean, it's like in any conversation you have with a client. They usually come knowing what they want to a certain extent, and we either say that's a good idea or not, and it may be to our own detriment to say that, and to say, well, you actually don't need that much of a website. Like, if you want that, we're happy to do that, but what you actually need that's going to work for you is this, and we just try to be really honest and upfront with our clients, which has served us very well over the years.
So what makes marketing wine unique compared to marketing other products?
Well, I mean, aside from all the legalities and shipping laws,
Sure.
It's a luxury item. And particularly in the Oregon wine industry, it's a luxury item. So you have to know and not be scared of that you're selling a $60, $80 product that a lot of the world scoffs at, and like, why would you pay $80 for a bottle of wine? The Safeway has it for $8.99. So you just have to understand that, that's your clientele. Don't be scared of it. Go for it. They want to pay you the $80. So let's have that conversation with them. Assume that they want the wine. Now, what do we need to do to get it to them? And so selling a luxury product like that has some of its challenges, where it's a smaller audience. You have to be really good at identifying them. Wineries also, often haven't done the best of job of record keeping and or email database collection, and so sometimes you walk into a winery and say, well, what do you have for me to market to? And they don't have much, and so that's kind of a challenge too, to kind of build up that customer base with them.
Sure. So you kind of touched on this a little bit in the last answer, but what is your marketing philosophy?
What's my marketing philosophy? Be nice, be honest, and don't try to trick people. And it kind of goes back to kind of the clickbaiting, and I always think of email subject lines that say, "You'll never guess our deal on this," right? And that's going to get you a decent open rate, but is that courteous to your customer? And particularly in the luxury wine marketplace, again, if I'm emailing somebody, they want to be contacted, right? They've double opted in to hear from the winery, client of mine. So I'm just very straightforward. Here's what it is. Here's the offer. And I think too, part of our philosophy, at least, is that every communication I have with the customer, it's not a sales pitch. Maybe 20% of them are sales pitches. I want to be delivering value the other 80% of the time. And for example, that may be, here's a recipe. There's no marketing pitch involved in this email to you. It's just a great recipe for the 4th of July. Here you go.
Sure.
Right? And so what happens there is you're basically looping the wheel. So when you do make that pitch, 6 emails down the line, they remember you as somebody who they like, who has given them value beyond the wine, and to try to kind of create that sense of, they're not just the wine on the table. I feel like they're part of my family. I want to support this local farmer. I want to support the family. I want to support the people that work for them, and they're giving me things beyond the wine. This recipe I made for Thanksgiving is a side dish from this winery, and then all of a sudden it becomes a story. And now they're telling their friends and family about it. And then we have this tribe of enthusiasts that go out there and keep marketing for us. And so that's kind of the goal, is just to kind of just be straightforward, be honest, be nice. Pretty much everybody in Oregon makes a really good wine. So that part's easy, and that also makes it hard, because everybody in Oregon makes a really good wine.
Right.
And so, so you kind of have to go beyond that. What can we offer them beyond great wine? What story can we tell? What other things of value can we offer?
And so you're marketing for multiple wineries at the same time sometimes.
Yeah.
What are the challenges of that?
We're really careful about that, we kind of think of them as silos, and we keep certain ideas for certain wineries, because we know, hey, like if we come upon an idea or we think of an idea that we really like, we kind of match that up to a client. We say, hey, we're not telling 8 of our clients this idea, we're telling you this idea, and we think this is going to work really well for you. And we try to make sure that we kind of have enough ideas flowing and coming in that we can always continually match that up. So we have to be careful with it, but they're usually the stories and the people involved and even the wines they make tend to be different enough that we can market differently for each of our clients, but we tend to try not to take too many in any one AVA. So it's not like we have 8 Dundee Hills clients, right, and we're marketing the same thing for them all the time. So we try to keep it kind of 2 or 3 per AVA and just kind of spread it out and keep it that way.
So you're not competing with yourself too much.
Right, exactly.
Do you have when customers come to you and you talked about so they kind of know what they need, how do you help them determine where they should market?
That's a good question. And a lot of times they kind of know where they want to reach out to. And we tend to be more of the digital marketing side, DTC stuff, direct-to-consumer stuff. So we can have the trade talk with them and where they should be distributed and, where are you now and what are the plans for that and can we kind of, lay the groundwork for an expansion there. But typically if a winery comes to us knowing or even asking a distribution question, they're pretty far beyond in their marketing than often what we get from the mom and pop side of things. So it's more of, hey, we are expanding into Texas and into Georgia in the next 6 months. That's what can we do to make sure people there know about it, right? And so that's kind of where we help from that kind of top-down level. So usually from the more distribution, where they want to market specific states, they usually have an idea of what they want to do.
And how do the wineries who approach you, they know your reputation, they know you work for else. Do they ever express concerns to you about working with multiple wineries in the same area?
A few do. Just conflict of interest stuff, that's fairly normal. And we just kind of give them the same speech in a lot of ways I just gave you, which was just that we're very careful about it. Our reputation is what it is. We've been doing this a long time, and there are going to be some similar, there are things that work, and there are things that don't work. If a shipping offer is going to work for you, and that's, but your shipping offer is going to be different than somebody else's shipping offer. The wines offered will be different. But then there are specific, just beyond transactional emails that the actual ideas, the stories, and without mentioning names, you try to come up with. We got a new client a few months ago, and we're doing a lot of the marketing for them. And so we try to come up with new and novel ideas for, okay, based on you and based on your audience and what they want to see, we think it'd be really cool if we started this series of emails that's going to do X, Y, and Z. Not marketing, or I'm sorry, not transactional marketing at all, just storytelling. We need to tell the story of your property, of your people, and that's different than the story of another winery's property and people. And we're going to do it in a different way too. So there's some concern here and there, but generally speaking, we make sure that we're very upfront about it and that we never share, results, ideas, anything like that. We have kind of this, big cloud of what we know works over the years, right? And we can pull from that knowledge, but it's never, hey, this winery did this and it was great. You should do this. It's much more kind of, okay, we know these 6 things that worked. Let's kind of refit them and form them to what you can do without never stealing of an idea or stealing of a solution.
So I'm curious. You've mentioned that that the product and the people in the story are different enough, and it's interesting to me because you have a lot of similar businesses. You have a lot of people. We have a lot of family farm type businesses selling Pinot Noir, similar quality, similar price, similar area. So what do you focus on, to differentiate? Sure.
It's funny, in a lot of my workshops, I literally have this section where it's, so we all make 93 plus Pinots. We're all biodynamic now, aren't we? We're all, we all have the dog in the vineyard, right? And so right. And so you kind of get to that point where what is it? And so we go down the list, and what it becomes is the people behind the product. And a lot of the times, and more in the wine industry, it's particularly in Oregon, you're not selling wine anymore. You're selling the people behind the wine. Right. You're selling the story of the wine, the romanticism of Oregon wine country. That's what you're selling. The wine is almost irrelevant at that point. Everybody knows it's good. It's just what's their story? What can we hook into them? And then I show examples of really boring stories. That are just basically we're ultra high premium, Pinot Noir that's made, blah, 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 everybody's story. I mean, if you look at the IPNC website and you look at the 60 people from Oregon, you just go down that list, you have the little snippets of stories. It's actually a really constructive exercise because you can start to see that, oh wow, what is the one that sticks out? And it's personality. It's a different kind of story. It's just, we kind of look for those things. And the way we get at it is, when I sit down with a new client, I'll kind of do a round table, and I'll get the winemaker, the owner, taste room manager, vineyard manager, all the stakeholders. And they've rarely ever been in the same room, I often find, right?
Right.
And then I kind of go around and I say, okay, give me 2 sentences about your winery. What is it that you love about your winery? What is it that makes your winery different? Why do you like working here? And we start to pull out common threads, but everybody has a little bit of a different take on it. So we kind of get that winery, people who work their perspective. And then the second kind of round of things that we tend to do is to interview or send out surveys to your wine club members. Because oftentimes, they're your best customers, they're your most loyal customers, and they're always willing to help, which is awesome too. And so we'll send out surveys to wine club members and kind of ask them similar questions, which is, why do you love our wine? What is it about our wine that you tell friends and family when you serve our wine? That kind of thing. And all of a sudden you start to see, how are other people organically talking about my winery? What do I think of my winery? And then that's how that story starts to form. That's how you can start to differentiate yourself. You hit on the key points that people are already telling you why they're buying your wine, and then you just kind of reiterate that in the marketing materials, because that's already resonating.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting method. I like that. That's
Yeah.
really cool. So on that topic, what marketing trends have you noticed recently in Oregon wine?
In Oregon, Oregon wine and the Oregon wine, or the wine industry in total, is a little behind in the technology world, as you may know. So trends it's interesting. I could probably say what's going on now, and wait 5 years, and Oregon will be doing it, right? so look at what high tech companies are doing now, and that will eventually trickle down. But what I'm seeing is more and more the past 2 or 3 years, Oregon wineries are, I shouldn't say finally, because I neither here nor there, but are kind of on the social media bandwagon now. For a long time, I think they tried to resist it. I think for a long time they thought it was trendy. It was reaching a demographic that they didn't necessarily know needed to be reached yet, or their demographic wasn't on it, so they thought. And it seems to be more and more now they're realizing, oh crap, we better get on this. Even if it's just Facebook or just Instagram or whatever it is. And I always recommend just, I get a very common, what platform should I be on? Be on the platform you like, right? It's just which one are you going to actually use and be authentic on,
Sure.
And so if that's Instagram for you, go for it. But yeah, but now there's definitely, we get more and more questions and getting more clients now that are just pure social media, as opposed to what we tend to do more of is websites and email marketing and just marketing strategy and consulting and that kind of thing. But when they come to us saying, hey, can you do our social media? Yeah, we can do that. We've done that for a long time. So definitely the social media becoming more important. I think too, there's starting to be, and thank goodness for this, a sense that we need data in this industry, marketing data, not just what were the yields and what did we thin this crop down to this year and what was the TA of that wine this year. Winemakers have always had the data. But the marketing side of things hasn't necessarily. So I think there's starting to be, particularly now that most wineries have some sort of POS system that can capture customer data, and we can kind of look through and what is sold well and what's our club recidivism rate, it's just all that kind of stuff that we can now analyze is becoming more and more important. I think as the competition becomes more and more tight. So that's definitely happening as well right now. And then in tasting rooms themselves, you're starting to see the seated tastings, which is the experiential tasting, right? And this has kind of drifted up from California, and for good reason. I mean, the club conversion rate on a seated tasting is 19% versus stand up at a bar is 3%, right? And so you can kind of see why wineries are doing it. But right now, you're starting to see, like if you look at any winery's website, you'll start to see that they're having some sort of scheduled, seated, experiential tasting, whether that's a vineyard thing or just private little group. So that's very trendy right now too. And I shouldn't say trendy because that is something that they should be doing because it's going to get you more club members. But so those are kind of the three things I see right now.
Interesting. So as we've talked to winemakers over the years and wine owners and anybody else involved, this is generally their least favorite part of it, right? They usually love everything about wine except selling it. So would that explain why there's not much data? Would that explain why there's not much?
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, I always kind of make the joke that basically that most people got into the Oregon wine industry for passion. And at a certain point they said, oh crap, we actually have to sell it, right? You know, oh, we make it, we're buying huge tanks, we're, you know, investing in infrastructure, and oh, there is the side of it where we actually need to get it into consumers' hands. And that seems to be a realization that's come along in the past 10 years as well. And so, so I think with that realization, with the competition factor, with money coming in from California and France, with this kind of, you know, Oregon has grown. I think we're seeing a very interesting maturity of the Oregon wine industry right now. And I think with that becomes more of the business side of things all of a sudden. Whereas before you could just kind of, hey, we make wine, we kind of made money this year, kind of not next year, it was okay. And now it's like, oh crap, we should probably actually track this stuff and see how we can grow so that we're viable 10 years from now, 15 years from now.
So as the industry gets more competitive and bigger, some of that stuff becomes more important. Yeah,
it does, and I'm seeing it, I mean, even in being approached for work more and more, you know, just and the types of things they're asking for is much more, like I said, data driven, much more not marketing 101, but, you know, high level marketing, which is great for us. I mean, because it just means there's more knowledge about it, there's more need for it. So I think it's a wide open category to serve the industry like that.
Sure. You've touched on this a little bit already, and beyond just like the platform, what else has changed about what wineries want from you in the last 10, 15 years?
That's interesting. What has changed? Honestly, not a whole lot. It's still, so it kind of goes back to, you know, selling wine is relationship based, right? You just grow that relationship with your customers. You give them a wonderful experience when they're in your tasting room. And so that's always going to be the case. The question is, you know, is there a platform that does that better than any others? And the answer is no. It's just you have at your disposal now 16 different platforms, right?
Yeah, right.
And so it's just which one of these are you most comfortable being the most authentic and relationship based, you know, for this particular winery. So I think what's always true about the wine industry is that it's always going to be relationship based. So no matter what platform, no matter what trend is out there, you just kind of apply what you've always done to that platform and that trend. And if Facebook goes away in 5 years, something else is going to come along. But that doesn't mean that that effort was wasted. It just means that you're just now on a different platform doing the same thing. Right. Telling your story, being authentic, being nice, being helpful, right? And so that's kind of what it comes down to. And as far as kind of what they've been asking for, I mean, I guess it does go back to this, I think more than anything we've seen over the past year and a half, maybe 2 years, is just social media. The acceptance, finally, that it is a thing they need to be on, particularly as their wine club demographic is getting older and older and needs to be replaced as they're retiring and their incomes become fixed. They're starting to realize the millennials and my generation, the Xers kind of need to be that next, we need to get them now, so 20 years from now, they are our 60-year-old wine club members, right? And before, I think they were kind of okay just floating along with what they have. Right. So there's kind of that grab for it. And I think there is a common misunderstanding that social media equals young people, you know, and I said, well, actually the fastest growing demographic on Facebook is, you know, women 60 years and older, right? I mean, percentage-wise. And so you have to say, you know, no, your current customers are also on these platforms, and they're looking at their grandkids, and they're looking at, you know, they're on it just like everybody else is. So that realization, things that I've never beaten it over people's heads that they should be on any one thing. It's not my job to convince them. When they're ready, and they'll come to me, right? Right. And so, but now they're ready, and I'm seeing that they're coming to us for that kind of thing now, definitely.
So speaking of that, what does the typical Oregon wine buyer look like, and is that changing?
It is. I mean, it depends on the winery, obviously. But if you're talking, you know, 45 to 65-year-old, fairly high income, disposable income, travels. You know, a lot of the audience is fairly local, you know, but the reach is also huge. I mean, most of my clients have customers in every state, you know, easily. But at the same time, their club members are, you know, 50%, 70% local, you know, so you kind of have to make sure that you are always marketing to, you geographically marketing, demographically marketing, previous purchase marketing, and kind of combining that matrix of everything into whatever you're trying to get them to do at any given time. That's the typical customer, and what they're after now is, and I kind of give the example of a few years ago. All the luxury car manufacturers started making the $30,000 entry car, right? Yeah. So Audis were always $60,000 and Mercedes were always $60,000, but all of a sudden now they have their $30,000 car. And the whole reason for that was to get the millennials, to get me, into that $30,000 car so that I would eventually bump up to the $60,000 car. And that's the exact same thing that they need to be doing for wine club membership, is to offer some sort of lower entry point where that entry point isn't $600 a year, right. It's $150 a year. We get you into the club, we get you loving our story, we get you loving the people behind the story, and over time now, they will grow and purchase more and more wine and kind of graduate up. And so that same trend that you saw happening in the luxury auto world is the same thing that you can translate to kind of the luxury wine world. So that kind of thing is also happening.
And you're seeing that.
We are, and we're driving a lot of it in the sense of, when we consult with new clients saying, what are the club? What is your club currently? Well, okay, well, how would you feel about offering a lower entry point? And the clients that have done that and have consistently kept up on it have seen their sales grow pretty significantly. So it's to get that customer in and get them in the club is really important. It's just recurring income, it's cash flow that they can depend on. And even if they don't graduate up to the 3 case a year club, that they still buy more wine from you than they would have just a la carte based on their discount and based on them coming to club events and based on them. And my whole thing is, if I have more customers who love my story and are out there sharing this wine with their friends and family, that's marketing I can never do. Right. That's just classic word of mouth marketing, right. And even beyond, because the passion these people have often for the brand is just, oh, you have to have this wine, And it's experiential. If we can just translate that to their table, as opposed to in the tasting room, right. What an amazing thing we've accomplished there. So.
And there's so many people out there, I think, overwhelmed by what's the wine I should buy if I have the money to buy. Having that word of mouth marketing is the best possible.
Absolutely.
Answer.
Yeah.
Is there either a typical or a most common concern your clients come to you with?
That's a good question. Other than we want to sell more wine.
I would hope they come with that, yeah.
Okay. People are scared of over communicating. Wineries are always, when I say, okay, how many emails a month are you sending? Oh, we send 4 a year. Oh, geez, okay. We send 1 a month. Okay, we're getting there. But they're very scared of bothering their customer, which I understand. I get that. People don't want to be bothered. And so that's a common concern. It's just, okay, if we're going to jump into this marketing game and contact our customers frequently, what is the kind of breaking point of it being annoying? Of driving them away by too much communication. So that's kind of a common concern that we get, just on a very kind of superficial level of beyond just how do we grow our sales. Now that we're actually growing your sales, what are the things that go along with that? So that'd be one thing.
So based on all of this, what would you say the most important aspect of your job is?
I don't know. Being a psychotherapist for a lot of them? No, I'm just kidding. No, I think a lot of it is, I think what we provide wineries beyond just the good old marketing and execution of the marketing is being reliable and dependable. That if that a lot of these mom and pop operations, now that they realize that marketing is important, feel that they can outsource a vast majority of it to us and know it's going to be done right, know it's going to be done in a trustworthy way. And in an honest way, that again, I'm of the same philosophy they are. I don't want to bother your customers either, but I'm going to tell you to email them a little bit more than once a month. But that my values are in line with their values. That we're part of this industry, have been for almost 2 decades now. We've grown with them in a lot of ways, and so I think providing that sense of security in a lot of ways, not knowing that we're some unknown quantity from New York marketing firm coming in saying, hey, we want to do wine marketing and we don't know anything about it, but look at all these fun stats and figures and things that move. I think for a large, because again, anybody can do marketing, right? But it becomes at a certain point, are you aligned with the customer? Do you know the industry inside and out, so that when you are speaking to their customers, you're speaking in the same exact way they would.
So you mentioned outside firms. Have you seen a growth in your industry?
A little bit, but it's mostly homegrown, and partly probably from your efforts here too. Or it's just it's more of a realization that I think when we started, it was like I kind of fell into it, and okay, well, people keep telling us they want to give us money, we should take it, kind of thing, But and we didn't know if there was a future in that or not, honestly. We didn't know how long this would be. And if you look at the economic impact studies that you know of, 2005 is 1.3 billion, and in 2013 it's 3.2 billion. It's just growing and growing and growing. So point being, there's more room now. Wineries need these services. There's exponentially more wineries. Well, not exponentially, but multiple times
many more wineries.
When we started with Panther Creek, maybe 50-ish. 75-ish, in the Willamette Valley, and we're up to 350 now, 375. And so particularly these mom and pop shops that pop up that are retired people that made their money in some other world and come in and hire their vineyard manager to, they're just basically outsourcing the branding and the creating of the wine, but they want to be involved in the process because they love it. Those people need the marketing services, and we can't service 600 wineries, and so I think there's definitely room, and I think there's definitely growth for that, and we are seeing some organic stuff popping up, and I think in the same way the Oregon wine industry grew, it's just, it's not like it's competition for us, it's just other people doing what we're doing, and a lot of times we collaborate, we kind of have a trusted group of people that we work with regularly, and we run into them a lot in various capacities, graphic designers, copywriters, developers, that kind of thing, and we all help each other on a variety of projects. So I think it's also very analogous to how the Oregon wine industry itself grew in that same kind of way, sharing information, sharing knowledge, hey, what worked this year, what worked this year, so yeah. Sure.
So then what do you think the future of wine marketing looks like in the Willamette Valley?
I think that's an interesting question. I think you have to ask first, what's the future of wineries look like in the Willamette Valley, and kind of a reticence to go the Napa way, versus let's keep it really authentic and more Paso Sonoma kind of way, right? Because what you always hear in the Oregon wine industry is we don't want to be the next Napa, and I think everybody's on board with that. And I think that we want to make sure that it's authentic. You can still belly up to the bar, and the winemaker is the one pouring the wine for you. That they'll still grab a thief and pull something from the barrel for you. But you're starting to see with some of the bigger wineries, and this is not to pick on them at all, but more of that luxury experience. And you see, the ones that are popping up big buildings and really high-end facilities, tourist magnets in a lot of ways. So I think what we'll end up seeing is more and more of that kind of thing, which requires bigger marketing staffs, which require more in-house marketing staffs. So as that top 5-10% keeps growing, I think people like us aren't going to be serving them a whole lot. They're going to have in-house people doing a lot of that kind of thing. But as kind of that other 90% tries to keep up, I think we'll just kind of keep having work, and I think the trend is just going to be to keep growing with them. So I think you kind of look at the trajectory of the industry itself, and it's just going to keep growing. So there's just more and more opportunities to service them, not only in our industry, but in every kind of tangential industry there is with that. Every forklift needs propane, right? And so it's just like, there's going to be more propane sold. So that kind of thing is just going to grow with the industry as it grows. But hopefully we can all steer it more towards the keep it authentic, keep it real, keep it so people truly, and they still do, enjoy coming here and being a tourist destination, a world-class tourist destination. But I think there's definitely more of that focus right now is more of the tourism aspect, and focusing on that as a major play, not only in the U.S. but worldwide, to get people to know that we're the place to be.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's the future for Lunabean look like?
Well, I don't know. No, things are. It's kind of just keeping on. It's just we continually get new and interesting clients. There's part of the fun of it is that every client is different, and so when people say, hey, what do you do? And be like, well, it just depends on the client. Just right. Every single client has their own kind of issues and their own solutions. Therefore. But yeah, we just keep, interesting projects keep coming into our lap. And like I said, we're very lucky to have that be the case for us. And so we've gotten to the point, and I'm old enough now where I'm starting to say no to some things, but again, a luxury place to be in our career, where we don't have to take every little thing that comes our way. And so, which means we have more time to focus on the clients that we love, and more time to kind of dedicate towards building our own knowledge and doing side projects that we enjoy doing. And so yeah, the future of Lunabean is just kind of to keep growing, keep providing great customer service and marketing for our clients, but to, I think, focus down more on fewer clients and bigger projects.
And I should have asked this earlier, but why Lunabean? Why did you name it that?
So it goes back to the video game strategy guide company and not having any marketable skills whatsoever. And I guess we registered that domain name in 2000, and it was at a time when we had no idea what we wanted to do with ourselves, and we needed somewhere to build a website. And our cat's name was Luna, and we wanted Lunabeam with an M, which like half of our clients still think we are Lunabeam. And it was interesting. I mean, we made the conscious decision that at the time you're looking at Yahoo was big and Google was big, and what does Yahoo have to do with what they do? Nothing. It's just a generic name that's applied to a brand, right? Mm-hmm. Same with Google. We all, it's a mathematical thing, but I mean, right. We all know that if you say Google, people wouldn't know that you're a search engine. So we needed something generic enough that whatever we ended up doing, it could apply. And what's funny about it is that through the video, so we were just lunabean.com, and that was all the video game stuff. And then we had our own tribe called Lunabeanies. And we had this huge group of, and again, the message boards was 10% talk about video games and 90% talk about, life and everything else. And we were on it, all the time. And so we understood that tribe building. But so we had Lunabeanies, and then when we kind of translated it over to the wine world, we had that name kind of stuck with us in a lot of ways. So we just became Lunabean Media. And any kind of side project that we do now with like the bottle shot stuff we're doing now, we're Lunabean Bottle Project, we're Lunabean whatever. And Allison and I, we're neither here nor there on the name, honestly, but it's just, at this point, like, you're not going to rebrand that 20 years down the line. It's just like, we're now introducing Entrust Marketing Group, or whatever. We're just Lunabean, we're just kind of stuck with it. So, yeah. That's how that.
I'm so glad it has to do with a cat.
Of course.
That's wonderful.
Well, and everybody, like in the bank, thinks we're a coffee bean supplier. So it's just yeah.
It's an even better story than I hoped for. It's wonderful. Yeah. So last question for you is, what advice? You gave this a little bit earlier, but what advice would you have someone who wanted to do what you do?
Talk to me first to see if I want to hire you, and then no. So I think generally. Learn your marketing 101 stuff, because it's important. It can be applied. But you have to have that base level of knowledge is exactly what I said earlier. You need to get on the ground in this industry is weird and crazy, and there are characters, and it's a fun industry to market. I mean, it's not like you're just marketing, any old widget or, whatever. It's, really boring stuff. There's excitement here. And so, you need to get on the ground. You need to work in a few tasting rooms. You need to work at a few different levels of tasting rooms, even if it's just part-time for 2 summers in a row, and then volunteer, be a cellar rat, just for one harvest, just to kind of understand what it's like to have earwigs and be sticky every single night, and you're going to bed and pulling an earwig out of your hair. Like, you have to understand that there's the luxury side that the consumer has, and then there's the, it takes a lot of beer to make wine side of things that winemakers have. And there are spiders in your wine. There are earwigs in your wine. They eventually get filtered out, but it's not a luxury process to make high-end wine. Sure. And I think if you understand both sides of that equation, you have a better grasp of, A, I do need to talk to a luxury clientele, but B, that luxury clientele is fascinated by the craft aspect of the handmade quality of things, and to see grapes going along a conveyor belt in the sorting line, and that's all hand done, and you're looking for second crop and botrytis and all these little things that go into that. If you have an understanding of that side of it, you can fascinate that clientele on 2 levels, both the luxury romanticism and these are the people making your wine level. So I think having that experience on both the production side and the retail side is important. And then kind of just keep up on the trends. Visit taste. I mean, one of the best things you do is just go out in the valley and visit 18 tasting rooms over the next 6 months, and just kind of make notes about what was. what would have gotten you to purchase the wine? Was there a good spiel? Was there something, and again, then I just kind of take that and I translate that to the online world. That's how I kind of develop a lot of the marketing, the literature and stuff like that. It's just, what would attract me to it? And granted, you're not your own customer, but you kind of say, this resonated with me, or they did a really good job at this, and why did that work? Beyond it was just a nice spiel, like, oh, because they told a story that was interesting. And what was interesting, and you kind of start to deconstruct the stories and analyze them. So yeah, so I would just say get experience in the industry and learn your marketing 101 stuff, and you can go pretty far.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Well, that's all the questions I have for you. Is there anything I should have asked you or anything else you'd like to add?
I'm trying to think. I don't think so. I think it was a pretty thorough interview.